What is it that automakers know that they seem to have forgotten? It's time we talk cars. Hi, I'm Larry Printz, Associate Editor at WeTalkCars.com. And on paper, the automotive industry looks remarkably resilient. New vehicle sales have held together despite high prices, elevated interest rates, and a consumer choosier about every single purchase. Wealthier buyers continue to support the market, but the math is harder for everyone else. Consider this. Affordability is something that automakers have forgotten, as the average price of a new vehicle has reached $49,220. This has led to financing costs and monthly payments to remain at record levels. Increasingly, buyers are stretching loans to 7 and 8 years just so they can have a new car to drive. The first half of 2026 offers an unexpected lesson about the American auto market. Consider new car sales so far. For the first 6 months of 2026, Toyota sold 1.2 million vehicles. Now, that's up 0.5% compared to the same period last year. Honda saw its best first half results since 2021, with demand up 2.4%. Nissan sales rose 0.4%. Hyundai also saw demand for its vehicles rise 3%, while corporate cousin Kia achieved its best first half performance in its 64-year history, with sales up 2.7%. For domestic automakers, the news hasn't been as good. Now, while GM sold 1.3 million vehicles, that's more than Toyota, overall it was down 6.8%. Ford hasn't released its sales figures yet, but according to Cox Automotive, they're predicting a sales decline of 10.3%. Now, for years, conventional wisdom held that America's abandoned cars for SUVs and pickups, and Detroit certainly behaved as though it were true, exiting most of the passenger car business in favor of trucks and crossovers, with higher sticker prices and richer profit margins. But consumers don't always follow the script. The first half of 2026 offers an unexpected lesson for American automakers as they finally wake up to the more overlooked story of 2026: the quiet resilience of the sedan. When affordability becomes the defining issue, this sedan starts looking less like yesterday's transportation and more like tomorrow's value proposition. It wasn't that people started falling in love with cars again, it's that they never stopped loving affordability. Consider who still believes in this segment. Toyota continues to invest in the Corolla and Camry. Honda remains committed to the Civic and Accord. Nissan continues with the Sentra and Altima. Hyundai offers the Elantra and Sonata. Kia sells the K4 and K5. In contrast, America's automakers decided years ago that pickups and SUVs generated better returns. GM no longer competes in the compact or midsize mainstream sedan segment. Their last model, the Chevy Malibu, stopped being built after years of neglect and cost extraction by GM accountants. Ford stopped selling the midsize Fusion in 2020, despite selling 166,000 units the previous year. Yet the first half of 26 shows that sedans have been among the stronger performing segments, even as broader demand remains uneven. According to Cox Automotive, midsize sedans showed the strongest growth of any automotive segment, with demand growing 17.6%. Compact sedans followed at 9.6%. Now, after all these years of sales decline among sedans, it's natural to wonder, well, how come? Good question. It's easy to understand why. Compare a well-equipped midsize sedan with a similarly equipped SUV, and you'll often discover several $1,000s in purchase price savings, better fuel economy, and lower ownership costs. When financing a vehicle over 72 or even 84 months, these differences compounded to meaningful monthly savings. The irony is that Detroit spent 2 decades convincing Americans they needed ever larger vehicles, only to discover that many Americans simply want transportation they can comfortably afford. That may be why new entrants, from inexpensive electric startups to established manufacturers, are suddenly rediscovering the appeal of smaller, less expensive vehicles. Even discussions about compact pickups, long dismissed as relics of another era, have returned because affordability has changed. This makes a big opportunity for startups. America's affordability problem increasingly reveals itself through the automobile. When buyers finance longer, postpone purchases, or gravitate towards practical sedans instead of premium SUVs, they're sending a signal about the economy every bit as meaningful as retail sales or consumer confidence. The industry's challenge isn't convincing consumers to embrace electrification, software, or autonomous driving. It's convincing them that they can still afford a new car. But every strategy eventually meets its constraint. Today, that constraint isn't engineering, it's the American household budget. And in the first half of 2026, if it tells us anything, it's that companies are willing to build practical, efficient, and reasonably priced compact and midsize sedans. Well, they may discover that the oldest idea in the industry remains one of the most profitable. Give customers a car they can actually afford. I'm Larry Printz, Associate Editor of WeTalkCars.com. Happy motoring.